Hello, Philip. Delighted to be chatting with you. Myself and Steve Evans here.
Hi,
Hi.
Phil. You okay?
Yeah, not bad. How's yourself?
Yeah, Steve went to
Yeah,
match
not
today.
too bad. So you're over in Salford, down the other side of the East Lancs Road, down at Salford. What's it like in Salford today? Same as it's Liverpool, is it? Probably rainy, snowy, and very cold. Well, probably not too
Well,
much rain. Right.
like I said, I don't actually live in Salford. I was born in Salford, but I lived in Prestwich most of my life. And now I actually live in Horwich, which is actually not too far from Bolton Wanderers ground. So,
You know what? I knew that, and I wrote it down, and I still forgot to mention it. That's where you live in now. That was supposed to be my first question. So anyway, you've corrected me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Bad start from me. Never mind.
Yeah.
Probably because we got a bad result today. Well, it wasn't the best.
Yeah.
No,
Anyway,
I believe so.
where's for both of us? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Phil, before we talk about your writing, which we're going to focus on, can you tell us what you do to relax? Is it football related? You still supporting Man United?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I don't think you could call the last 10 years of supporting Man United relaxed.
No.
Definitely responsible for at least a couple of the grey hairs, you know what I mean? But yeah, generally watch football, watch Netflix. Yeah, just the usual, just chill out. But I mean, a lot of my spare time when I'm not working, I am either writing or editing, that kind of stuff, you know. So yeah.
Is that a fox behind you?
Well, it's a pillow that's
Yeah.
got a picture of a fox on it.
Not a real one. I say, yeah, we read that you're the owner and the administrator of the unofficial Man United quiz website. What's it called? UltimateUnited.com. You still running this? You still involved?
It's ultimateunited.co.uk. And yes, it is still up and running, but I'm kind of in the process of changing that to my official alpha website.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a bit messed up at the moment, but Ultimate United was actually where you could probably credit that with being like the start of my writing journey, if you like.
Oh, yeah.
So, because what it was like one, it actually started by falling down some stairs in a bar in town.
What?
Yeah, because I had to have a week off work. I'd had the arm in a sling, had like an airline fracture in my arm.
What
So
the hell?
I couldn't go to work.
Yeah.
So literally, once I'd maxed out Netflix and there was not much left to watch on that, I just came across this football quiz website.
Yeah.
It's like multiple choice answers, so I don't need to type anything, and decided to come up with my own. When I got a couple of guys I know to build Ultimate United, and they gave me the facility to like write articles and things, football articles,
Yeah.
and that's kind of where the writing journey started, if you like.
Sam?
I was just going to ask you, just stepping back a little bit. I wanted to mention about your work as a holiday rep. You worked in Turkey for Thomas Cook.
Yeah.
What did you like doing that, or was it just a means to an end at the time?
It was one of them things. It was like 2003 I did that. And you might remember, do you remember a show called Club Reps was pretty big at the time and stuff like that? I just watched that. I wanted to go. But the problem was, I didn't apply to the Club Rep brand. I applied to the, just your standard holiday rep sort of thing. And I ended up out in the middle of nowhere in a place called Antalya on the south coast of Turkey, which is a beautiful place, but it wasn't quite what I had in mind when I watched Club Reps. You know what I mean?
Oh, well. Anyway, yeah, just back to present day then. With you living, well, you did live in Salford, but do you still get to Old Trafford then to see any the Man United games?
No, well, not since I've moved up here because I'm like literally at the other end of Lancashire now. So, I mean, obviously, I've been to loads of games over the years. Never been a season ticket holder, never afford that. But yeah, I've been to loads of games over the years. In fairness, you guys will probably enjoy hearing this. The last one I actually went to was where you gave us a bit of a 5-0 thrashing last season.
Oh,
Yeah. So yeah, maybe it's time I stopped going to Old Trafford because I think the last couple of times I've been there we've lost. So clearly I'm not a good luck charm. You know what I mean?
Did you walk out early on that one, Phil?
No, I never walk out early.
Yeah?
I never walk out early.
Oh, dear. Oh.
If ever there was a time when I would have walked out early, that would have been it.
Yeah. Oh, can I ask you? This is going off on a tangent slightly. About your Twitter name, Frank 1980. Is there the reason for that? Is there someone you know or
It's a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, Frank's my nickname. So my dad's also called Phil, and so yeah. When he was in his early 20s, he worked the place where he worked. There was this little old cleaning lady. She was deaf, and she thought his name was Frank Mead, not Phil Meese. And so everyone called him Frank.
Yeah.
And when I was born, I was Little Frank.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not quite apt now because I'm about 3 inches bigger than my dad, but yeah. And that's it. And like a lot of my friends, a lot of my mates call me Frank, and I've just thought, right, I'll put it in my Twitter handle as well.
Nice one. Yeah. I had the same. My son's named Terry, same as me. And we used to be Big Terry and Little Terry. Now my son's 6'3", I think, 5 inches bigger than me. So it's Young Terry now and Old Terry. Shouted. Yeah.
We wanted to talk about your writing ultimately. Now, as you know, our mutual friend Michelle Cobbett gave your ghost horror novel, The Presence, a really good review as part of the Literary Rides website.
Yeah.
What most impressed Michelle was the authenticity of the writing. Now, so tell us a bit about the plot and how you did your research and how it all came about.
Well, for a start, the first thing I actually thought of was the title. Before I'd even thought of a plot or anything like that, I was trying to get to sleep one night. I've got a radio football phone in, and I just heard these two words, The Presence, and I thought, that'd be a banging name for a ghost story, that. So I decided, right, I'm going to write a ghost story. This was when my first book, which obviously we'll touch on in a bit, but my first book was like in the editing process. It was on the way to being published at that time. So I just thought, right, now I'm going to have a crack at writing a ghost story, and there's the perfect title. And I just came up with the plot from there, really. With regards to the research and everything, so it's obviously set in a 14th century house, but the ghost is from like the 16th century. I'm pretty well versed in history because my mum's an absolute history buff. She loves history. So because of that, I kind of grew up with it, and I'm pretty well skilled in history myself. So it wasn't an awful lot of research I needed to do. And anything I need clarification on, I just ask my mum, and she could tell me. With spirituality, I go to the spiritualist church quite a lot. I still, even though I don't live in Prestwich anymore, I still go to the Prestwich and Whitefield Spiritualist Church quite often. And I've had quite a few personal readings over the years. So all of that, it wasn't as such that I really had to do research. It was just kind of based on all my own experiences. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So with Michelle, I know she's a high priestess in a coven. And so she's really into all these spirituality things. And she said it just stood out because that's what she does.
Yeah.
And it read genuine.
There's a few people who I know who have told me pretty much exactly the same thing. They said, and they've asked me if I'm some sort of medium. And I said, well, no, I've been told I should be by certain mediums, but I've never actually took the time to train up or anything like that, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it's consistent, at least, isn't it?
Yeah,
at least
definitely.
You're going in the right direction. If 3 or 4 people liked it, so
absolutely,
yeah. So is this a standalone book, or do you have plans for a series based on the Kate Thorpe and Blackmore Hall character and the location?
It's going to be a trilogy. It's definitely going to be.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
It will definitely be a trilogy. Now, the next book, the next book that I release, which should be sometime in the next few months, is a standalone book. It's not related to this one. Once I've released that one, then I'm going to get to work on parts 2 and 3 of The Presence. A lot of work to do on that yet, because it's actually a lot bigger than just a standard ghost story. There's a much bigger picture there.
So you started them, have you?
Oh yeah. I mean, I have started work.
Sorry, have you started them? You've just put them to one side for the time being while you do this standalone one.
Yeah, well, during the pandemic, I was furloughed for about 5 months, and when I was taking a break from the work I was doing on The Presence, like editing it and everything like that, I came up with an idea for another story. And while I was looking after my mate's house, I had like 2 weeks of peace and quiet and everything. I actually wrote most of this story there. So that's a story that was ready to go. It's a story that's completed, but this one is a standalone story, the one that I'm about to publish. It's actually, I've sent it off for like editorial at the moment. I'm just waiting to receive it back so I know what work I've still got to do on it, you know.
Yeah,
Nice one.
yeah.
It's a hefty size, isn't it? 500 odd pages.
Getting value for money there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you should have seen how long the first draft was.
What? Bigger, yeah. Did you cut it down much?
Well, absolutely, yeah. I mean, so when I finished it, when I published it, then so the final version's 135,000 words in the present. That's like the word count.
Yeah.
The first draft had about 230,000.
What? Well, that's about 5 books you could have got out of that.
Yeah, well, some of it has gone in. Some of it has gone into the second book. Just too many ideas in there to fit in one book. But yeah, the first draft was huge.
Yeah. Oh,
you must have some imagination. That's all I can say.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That's another thing I've been told over the years, and all.
Yeah. I bet. God, dearie me.
Yeah. Is horror, is that the genre that you read yourself, Phil? Horror fiction?
I read anything really. I mean, my favourite author is Dean Koontz. So I suppose,
oh yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. So he's definitely my favourite author. I almost got about 20, 25 of his books. But
have you read that one? Have you read that one about the dog, the Labrador dog?
Watchers.
That's it. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's my favourite story. That's my favourite.
I love that.
Oh, that's a word for that book. It really is. It's an amazing story. But I like things like autobiographies as well. Got a lot of football autobiographies. But I'll read anything. I mean, like when I was in Turkey, I had to spend like 3 nights in hospital, and because it was a Turkish hospital, they only had one book that was printed in English. And it was, have you read a book called The Horse Whisperer?
Yeah, good film as well with what's his name?
Robert Redford, wasn't it?
Robert Redford, that's the one. Yeah.
That was the only book they had in the hospital that was printed in English, so they gave it to me while I was in hospital. I got to admit, it's not something I would have read off my own back, but I had absolutely nothing else to do, so I read it, and I've got to be honest, I did really enjoy it. Yeah.
Did you feel sorry for the horses? Whether you get hobbled?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, yeah. But definitely a good story, and the film, it was definitely one of them where the book was better than the film.
Yeah.
Going back to 2019, Diary of a Call Center Agent. That is completely off the wall compared to what you're doing now, or sounds it. Is this something about PPI or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it is.
Is it?
Yeah, no, well, what it is, I was working for a PPI company at the time. I was one of them. So you know them horrible people you used to get calls from asking you for I was one of them horrible people. So I mean, what it was actually, I suppose it was a bit of a petulant reaction to not getting a promotion that to this day I know I deserve, but didn't get. And I was like sat there thinking, you know what, I should write a book about this place. And then I had a second thought, you know what, I should write a book about this place. So I started jotting down, because when you do that job, as I'm sure you can imagine, you get some dog's abuse. And I'll tell you what, there's some quality insults, some insults in there I would have been proud of if I'd have come up with them, you know. And I started writing down the insults that people would give me. And I don't know, about 3 or 4 weeks after I started doing that, I had like 2 A4 pages worth of insults. I was like, I've worked everything.
Give us one of them. Tell us one of them, Phil.
Well, that depends. I mean, are you into really? Are we allowed to use bad language?
Of course, yeah. But no problem at all.
You can always edit it out.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
All right. Well, I suppose the most memorable one was when I asked him, some guy if he had PPI. He just said, "Have you got a big car?" And because it was on a recorded call. Seriously, because it was on a recorded call, I really what I wanted to say back to him. I just went like, really? Yeah. But I really wanted to say, ask your missus. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It could be a horror book then, couldn't it?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
PPI. You think about it, some of the stories you get to hear.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about it. I mean, I'm sure us people calling people asking about PPI probably caused a few anxiety attacks over the years, in fairness. So.
I would absolutely hate to do that job. I just could not do that. No. I'd end up having to go back down the phone. I really would.
Yeah. Well, that book was it was just basically it was just told from the point of view of somebody who did my job at the time. But it was kind of like if you want to put it in a category, kind of like almost like a fun way to know whether you would have had PPI. So it was like maybe an idiot's guide to PPI. If ever you'd had it, you'd find the answer in that book. But it's a lot easier than just reading up on the internet. There's a bit of fun in it as well, and a bit of drama, and like I say, a lot of insults from the public to the call center agents.
Well, sounds great.
Yeah, yeah.
Can I ask about that you were with a traditional publisher for this first book, Austin Macauley Publishers. Is there a reason why you went indie? Did you just fancy doing it yourself?
Right, so there's a bit of a difference with that. So when you first write a book, most people, I'm guessing this is the trap I fell into. The first thing you want to do, try and get it published.
Yeah.
You start looking for literary agents, but then you soon realise that literary agents aren't going to take a chance on an unpublished author unless you've written a manuscript that screams to him Sunday Times bestseller or New York Times bestseller or something. So after endless rejections, I was thinking, what can I do now? And my mum was just looking online at options, and she just came across Austin Macauley. So I sent the manuscript to them, and about 4 weeks later, they sent me a publishing contract through the post. And I read it, I signed it, and about 8 months later, the book was published.
Brilliant.
So yeah,
good stuff.
Yeah, but the thing is with Austin Macauley is the reason I didn't go back the second time. I'm sure you've heard of like a hybrid publishing contract.
Yeah, to charge you. They want money off you.
You do it. Now, I didn't mind for the first one because obviously I was wet behind the ears. I'd never done anything like this before.
You think you're going to sell $1 million as well, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I came to doing the second one, I thought, right, well, I'm not paying again. So I tried to find a literary agent for the presents, and again, there was no takers. So I started reading up on self-publishing, and the more I read about it, the more I liked the sound of it because you're in complete control of everything you do with it. You're in control of the editing, you're in control of the marketing, the cover that you create for the book itself. You're in charge of sorting that out. But at the end of the day, if whatever money you do make on it, obviously you've got to shell out a bit to make it happen. But whatever money you do make off it is then yours. You're not paying it to a fraction of it to an agent or a publishing company or anything like that. And from now on, I'm going to be continuing to go down the indie route.
Yeah, it means you've got to put a lot of work in promoting your own stuff on social media and all sorts like that. But yeah, I mean, it swings and roundabouts. We've heard from different authors. Some people say it's the way to go. Others, once you've got with a publisher, there's goods here, and they do, you repeat books and this, that, and the other. You cracked it then, I suppose. But it's one of them, isn't it? Yeah, you've just got to pick the best route, and it's not always the right one, is it? I suppose.
I suppose if you can get to that particular stage where you've got publishers beating your door down for your next book, then I suppose it is worth it. But until you get to that stage, and it's a big if actually, if you can get to that stage. But if you can't, then Amazon, with what they do with KDP and everything, it's a brilliant platform for you to launch your books on. The promotion of it's not that hard because, I mean, a lot of the time I'll sit there while I'm watching the football or something. I've got my laptop on it. And you think about it, you're following the hashtags like the Writers Lift and the Shameless Self-Promo Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
Actually, it's just like, retweet, copy and paste, post. Sometimes I do it while I'm on the ball. If I'm having like a long phone conversation, I can do a full writer's lift while I'm doing that, and I can certainly do it during a football match. And well, particularly the last few years, it's not that hard to turn away from United.
So do you have when you're writing then? Do you have a routine where you sit down for so many hours a day, or do you just write things down in a notebook and then transfer them later? Have you got a set routine?
No, I don't have a set routine at all. It's a case of I try to put in as much time as I possibly can. So like if I'm on a weekend where instead of having a lie-in, I try and get myself out of bed at around about 7 o'clock, something like that. But it all depends on what stage I'm at with the project I'm at. Now it could be that I'm writing a new story, or it could be that I'm editing. It could be that I'm running it through Grammarly to check check whether there's any spelling, grammar mistakes, that kind of thing. I could be doing keyword research, so to make sure, you know, so for the SEOs on Amazon, make sure that, you know, that they're all as they should be. I've still got to do that for my next one. It all depends on what I do, but when on a weekend, I try and put about 6 or 7 hours a day in, if I can, possibly more sometimes. But no, I definitely don't have a set routine, no.
Okay. About your writing routine, do you use notebooks, sticky labels? When you're writing, do you have sticky labels all over your wall? Or do you go
No,
straight to the keyboard?
No, I don't have that. I write a lot of me synopses down, a lot of notes down on Word documents. But let's say if I'm doing some editing or something like that, I will write things down on a notepad. If I've got tasks to do, things to maybe delete or change or something like that, I'll write them all down in pen on a notepad and I'll just cross them out as I've done it. And what I also have on my phone as well, so like, you know, you get added to WhatsApp groups sometimes. They're like, if it's like, I don't know, someone's stag do or something like that.
You get a
And then
million.
yeah, when the stag do's over, everybody leaves, don't they?
Yeah.
And what I do then is when everybody left one particular group, I kept it. And I use it for ideas because I could be like nowhere near my laptop when an idea will just suddenly come to me. So I'll just type it in there, get home, add it to my list of ideas and things like that.
That's a great idea, though. I haven't heard that before.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got your phone wherever you go, haven't you?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I've come up with, like I say, it might just be that I get an idea for a story, or I might even hear like a one-liner that I'm going to work into the thing. I mean, that happened quite recently, actually, where somebody at work said something. I thought, yeah, well, put it one way, that is going in the Presents Part 2, without a doubt about it.
Yeah, you got to give them credit for it.
I might do. Basically, the person in question said they had an upset stomach, so they were off work for about 3 days. And when they came back in the office, I was like, all right, how are you feeling? He went, oh, much better. I can fart with confidence again. And I was like, oh, it's going in the story.
That's a bit like me in a way, though, with you're saying about writing things down and putting things in little WhatsApp groups or whatever. If I don't do that, I'll forget about it. So I've got to do it in the moment. You do it in the moment, you remember then because it's written down. Best way, I find, definitely. Finally, from me then, what advice would you give to someone who's coming into writing for the first time, writing the first book? What would you say is the
funny thing is, I got asked that.
Yeah,
funny thing is, I got asked that last year by somebody who told me that they wanted to write a book about something that they're particularly passionate about. And she said to me, I don't know where to start. I said, well, just start somewhere. You know, if you've got ideas, write the ideas down first. And keep writing the ideas as they come to you. And before you know, after a few weeks, you'll probably have enough material to start. By then, you'll have more ideas. Well, of course, sometimes it's easier because sometimes you'll get an idea for a plot and you can just start writing it down straight away. But it's not always the case. I mean, every case is different. But that's what I told. That's what I told the person who asked me my advice about it. Start somewhere.
That sounds like excellent advice.
Yeah.
We've read all sorts of different ways. I mean, some people write an ending down and then work back, and then other people, it just comes in sporadic moments and they just do it as and when. So everyone's different. It's amazing how many different ideas you get from it. Like, so always an interesting to know. Like,
Can
we maybe have another one with this next book?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping it'll be released. The idea is to release it around maybe Easter, maybe just time after that. The only problem is I'm waiting on the editorial critique coming back.
So you might have a bit of work to do.
Well, the truth is I just don't know how much. But they said to me that I should have it back by the end of January. Once I've got that, I'll know how much work I've got to do, and then I'll be contacting my cover designer, the same guy who did the presents.
That's a superb cover. That I'm just looking at it behind me.
Yeah, it's Ken Dawson Creative Covers. He's a brilliant cover designer, really nice fella and all, actually.
What was his name again, Phil?
Ken Dawson, and his company is Creative Covers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've already told him he already knows that he'll be doing my next one. And like I say, that one I'm hoping to get it published April, May. It just depends on how much they say that they think I've got to do. Because when the critique comes back, doesn't mean I'll agree with everything they say. It's more a case of a second pair of eyes on it, and then I'll look at their feedback and I'll decide for myself which bits I agree with, which ones I won't. That's what I did with the presents. And once I know how much work I've got in front of me, because this shows you what a nice guy he is. I first contacted him in 2020 about the presents cover. I didn't end up publishing it till 2022 because I thought it went through so many edits and so many rewrites. God, he was patient. This guy's got a patience of the saint, I tell you. So I'm waiting until I get that back before I contact him.
Yeah. Oh, let's pick another one when it's due out, whenever it's due out, whether 3 months, 6 months. Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm obviously we follow each other on Twitter and everything, so I'll keep in contact with you as well.
Yeah. Good.
And but I'll definitely let you know. And first thing you probably see is when I do a cover reveal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That'll be a big indication. But I'd be more than happy to do this again anytime.
Nice one. Well, appreciate your time. But for now, thanks, Phil.
No worries, guys. Have a great weekend.
Cheers, mate. And you.
Yeah, thank you. And you. All the best. Yeah, brilliant.
See you in a bit, lads.